I put my ship on automatic, bearing down for Hades 3, and I climbed down to middeck as I usually do to try to get some shut-eye. It's a long journey. As I stepped towards the hold, I caught sight of something in the darkness. Couldn't say it was even human, but humanoid at least. I had an impression, at least immediately, that it was a body with exposed musculature, covered in blue-hued veins. It turned and looked right at me. Then the ship suddenly rocked and it was gone. It was only a nanosecond of an encounter, but it left me with this terrible sense of presence I just couldn't shake. It was as though I had seen something my mind just couldn't understand. The feeling never passed, and as soon as I got home, I sold that ship. It just didn't feel like mine anymore.
Let me tell you a story. A story about dead worlds, haunted ruins, and creatures that lurk just outside your vision. The story of a cursed star, a graveyard of worlds. Seeing as it's the month of October, I decided it was appropriate to tell one of the creepiest stories in the Star Citizen universe. This disturbing tale involves an unsolved mystery, ghostly sightings, and a lingering sense of dread which permeates all who enter the Hades system. The beginning of our story starts where all good ghost stories start, being told by a lone survivor of a doomed ship. In 2515, the crew of the tramp freighter the Mary Crow discovered the Hades system. However, they didn't report their findings because, you see, at the time, they were hauling several stolen fusion drives. 2 decades later, the last remaining crew member of the Mary Crow, the former navigator himself, Jake Taps, found himself at a low point. He was broke, had no ship, little to no real employment options, and a powerful addiction to slam. So he sold the logbooks of the old, long-forgotten ship to the Dynamo Corporation. Dynamo officially surveyed the system, and what they found was an astonishing mystery. 3 planets and a half-planet, totally habitable and completely inappropriate for human habitation. You see, the system was a decaying ruin of a former spacefaring civilization, long extinct. Evidence of their presence was all over the planets of the system. However, it took decades before the new system was thoroughly studied enough to get a good picture of what had happened. This ancient spacefaring species seemed to have wiped themselves out in a system-wide civil war. All the planets were pockmarked with massive craters, soaring cities built on massive arches that stretched over wildlands that are now cracked open with craters below them, showing signs of extensive tunnel systems. The atmospheres of these once thriving planets was now poisoned and destroyed. Finally, the 4th planet in the system was shattered by some unknown superweapon, not just destroying the inhabitants, but the planet itself. The system was named Hades, after the Greek god of the underworld, a fitting name for a solar system that had held the silent watch to a graveyard for over 300,000 years. The long-dead creatures that once dominated the system have been given the name the Hadesians. Based on the evidence left behind, they were creatures with a round body and several long, skinny appendages, with 2 strong, grasping arms. The number of appendages seem to have varied from Hadesian to Hadesian, based on skeletal and archaeological evidence. Some archaeologists believe that this meant there were multiple different species living on these planets, but others argue that it was simply mutation, and it seems that evidence is more pointing towards the mutation theory. For centuries, human xenoarchaeologists have sent expeditions to learn more about the fall of these people. However, others have also sought out the graveyard. Smugglers and looters have rummaged through the ruins of the worlds for anything they can make money from. Weapons manufacturers like Bering and Hurston have been very keen on funding expeditions to the Hades system because of the blasted remains of the half-planet, Hades 4. Many hope that the secrets behind this planet-killer weapon that smashed the planet still lays buried somewhere in the remains of these ancient tomb worlds. Not all who venture into the system are there to dig through ruins, however. Since its discovery, the system has become a major shipping route with goods and services traveling between Nexus, Nemo, and Cathcart. It's a lucrative yet unprotected trade lane, and in the heart of what I call the Outlaw Confederacy. Traders are already jumpy when traveling in the area as a result. And to add to that grim reality of flying through a dead system, you have a recipe for all sorts of haunting tales. Reports of weird technical malfunctions, full-on ghost cruisers, and the most elusive legend of the Hades system, the Hades Cryptid, also known as the Blue Man. Some call him Hades Satan, others Thanatos, after the Greek god of death, while others simply call him Tobias. Wait, Tobias? That's not scary. That's not scary at all. This is supposed to be a spooky episode. All right, let's move on. Humans, Banu, Xi'an, and even Tavaran have recorded accounts meeting this creature. They describe the same thing, a skinless humanoid with exposed muscles and a blue-tinted veins running all over its body. Sometimes encountered on the surface of the planets, but sometimes, like the story you heard at the start of this video, it will appear on passing ships. Some even encounter writing left behind on their ships, written in blood. Things like, "Subscribe to the Astropub for more Galactic Historian videos," and "Like and subscribe, share these videos and help the channel grow." What? I'm serious. It's totally legit. He's just a really hardcore fan, all right? It's not my fault I have a haunting supernatural creature that happens to be a fan of my videos. Seriously, though, it does help a lot to like and share, subscribe, do the thing. One possible account of this creature comes from a self-described professional explorer and archaeologist who often worked outside the law, named Tanya L'Oreal. After getting a tip about a rare mineral called Kethrium being detected on Hades 2, she and her trusty ship, the Beacon, made the journey down to the ruins. The mineral was hard to track, but she had tracked deposits down before and knew what to look for. When she found the signal, it led to a series of underground tunnels exposed by some massive explosion from an orbital or aerial strike hundreds of thousands of years ago. When she finally arrived at the site, she found the aftermath of a battle thousands of years old. Some Hadesian firefight with melted remains of vehicles which had been made into a hasty barricade, and the charred imprint of a Hadesian burned into the wall from an explosion or massive laser blast. Its expression she could only guess at, but to her, it seemed to have died in terror. Near the barricade, she found the signal coming from inside what she described as a deep bowl with rows of enclosures built into the sides. All of them were angled towards a single point, a marble-like cylinder at the bottom of the bowl. There was a small item sitting on top. It was made from a similar marble-like stone as the cylinder. On the cylinder was a small carving. It wasn't a Hadesian shape, not one she was familiar with at least. She described the structure as like a church or some holy site, possibly, for these Hadesians. She left the building as the signal registered close by. As she did, she was experiencing disorientation and tripped over something. Gathering her senses, she turned her light on the object she stumbled upon, only to find a long, dead, rotting corpse of a human, its mouth open in a silent scream. She found another body a few feet away, and the Kethrium between the two bodies in a secure box. One of the men had the back of their heads smashed in, while the other had taken their own life, a pistol still clutched in its hand. She didn't know how these two ended up dying, but she wasn't going to ask a lot of questions. After all, they'd done the hard work for her. When she went to retrieve the item, she saw something. Just some movement out of the corner of her eye. Raising her shotgun, she turned and tried to see what had darted just outside of her vision. As she searched, she turned up the sensitivity on her audio mics. As she did, she heard a hiss come through her headset.
Welcome home.
Tanya turned towards the hiss and fired 2 shots wildly into the darkness, blowing the speakers out from her own helmet in the process. Yet her shots hit nothing. Panicking, she grabbed the box and ran back to her ship. She swore as she was running she could see the figure just behind her clear vision, shadowing and following her as she scrambled through the ruins to return to her ship. And within 2 minutes, she was burning out of the atmosphere at full engine power. Later inspection of her suit, she noticed that her respirator was damaged, and she was getting an increased amount of oxygen. This may have been the source of her disorientation, the figure in the darkness and the voice itself. Still, this encounter may be another in a long line of encounters with this unknown cryptid, this Blue Man. The mystery of Hades is the stuff all good haunting legends are made of. So if you find yourself in the heart of outlaw country, hauling some valuable cargo for the criminals of Spider, keep a weather eye out when you go through Hades. You never know what might show up in your cargo holds. Thanks for watching. I'd like to take this time to thank those who have helped make this happen by subscribing to our Patreon. Adam Treziter, I hope I did that right, Lonnie Martin, Maddie LaRusso, and The Huntress. As always, you guys rock. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'm always looking for new ideas of what to cover next. Until next time, remember, ex Historia, ad Astra. And sleep tight.